waters. Or maybe you're into something more whimsical, such as the Muppets. Do you enjoy the music of Wesley Willis, Daniel Johnston, or perhaps even E.M.E.G.? Do their odd yet unmistakably earnest voices speak directly to you? Are you into weirdo art? Are you yourself an artist? Are you maybe even a weirdo artist? If your answer to any of these questions was yes, you might be.
Of course, I recognize that the act of calling oneself an oddball artist or a weirdo artist is kind of contradictory. After all is said and done, you might think you're Tommy Wiseau. Tommy Wiseau thinks he's Stanley Kubrick. It could be argued that your ability to self-reflect so good is what holds you back from being a better oddball artist. But in this day and age, the unfortunate truth is that you have to know how to market yourself if you want to gain any type of exposure. And you have to know how to do it perfectly. And a big part of that is looking at your body of work, who it's reached, what people have said about it, and identifying the themes. It's true that I was inspired by Daniel Johnston to write music because he made it seem so accessible. It was possible to write and record an album completely by yourself. This guy did it in the 80s with a chord organ and a tape recorder. And his lyrics instilled within me this need to always be earnest with my songwriting and with my art in general. But I didn't set out with the intention of being an oddball artist. I made the art that I wanted to make, the art that I felt like if I didn't get out, I would shrivel into a husk. It was only afterwards when I was able to analyze it in retrospect, as well as who it had reached and what they said about it, that I realized I wasn't exactly making top 10 radio tracks here. I never saw it as I'm making this grungy, scrappy, semi-awkward thing. I've always just seen it as this is a little piece of my heart and soul that I've carved out of myself for you, and people are really going to resonate with this. But after consistently receiving comments like, very interesting, not really my thing, what planet are you from, your mannerisms are concerning, and your gender expression confuses people, etc., 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 I'm starting to think that maybe my heart and soul is a grungy, scrappy, semi-awkward thing. Maybe I don't want it any other way. Ever thought about that one, Mr. Batman? So yes, I think I've earned the right to call myself a bit of a weirdo, oddball artist, and I reserve the right to use that aesthetic to my advantage. Self-awareness and sincerity do not have to negate each other. You might be an oddball artist if you get comments like, hey, what is this? WTF did I just watch? You need help, etc. You have trouble describing yourself as an artist. You've been making art for a while and no one seems to be interested. Perhaps you get a lot of views without a lot of interaction. Maybe you've had a couple random things do really well and you've struggled to maintain the attention of the modest audience they brought you. Or you're just generally scatterbrained and weird and f***ed up. Of course, none of these things on their own or even combined instantly make you harmony korine, and there are definitely other signs that I didn't mention. These are just some of the things that I've noticed in my career that has brought me to the conclusion that I might be a bit more niche than I thought. Getting a better understanding of my niche was an important step for me as an artist because it gives me a better idea of how to present myself. I'm not going to be trying for a Grammy anytime soon, but maybe Bandcamp Album of the Day is something I can aspire to. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, making it as a bona fide weirdo artist right now is insanely difficult. I mean, it's always been insanely difficult, I imagine. But it feels like it's particularly bad right now. Here are some of the reasons for why I think that is. Oversaturation. No matter how wacky and zany you're being, there's always someone bringing more whack and more zane, and they're funnier and more attractive and have a bigger microphone than you. When you're making experimental, left field art, you have to be so extremely particular, and if I'm being honest, slightly lucky to find the exact right combinations of challenging yet accessible, uncomfortable yet funny, shocking yet monetizable, thought-provoking enough to be memorable yet mindless enough to land on a coworker's Instagram reel, authentic to yourself yet utterly indentured to the algorithm. It sucks. It f***ing sucks ass and f***ing balls and titties. We live in a time where it seems easier than ever to pop off, so to speak. People literally make fortunes by posting pictures of their outfits. And I'm not saying that that doesn't take work and talent and finesse. I applaud those who can make that work. But that is exactly what you're seeing. The people who are making it work. For every one of them, there are 10 other people who are doing the exact same thing to a way less successful degree. Also, not to mention the fact that there are now legitimate ways to profit off of worthless art. And I need you to understand the Sandra Bullock magnitude gravity of me saying that a piece of art is worthless. That borders on going against everything I stand for. But if you'll allow me to be a bit dramatic for a second, seeing your fake AI Star Wars trailer jump into the top trending content for the day when I made a sci-fi mockumentary with practical effects like 6 years ago that still has, I believe, less than 250 views on YouTube, it really f***ing hurts. It's really f***ing hurtful. I don't know how else to say it. It's extremely discouraging. How are we supposed to compete with the guarantee of low effort and high success? That knockout combination. What's a girl to do? The other main issue is directly tied to this, and of course it is art literacy! Oh! I wonder why I keep having to tape this together. And look, this isn't me trying to say, well, no one watches my videos, so I guess society can't read. But sometimes it kind of feels like putting a lot of thought and effort into my work is detrimental when the average viewer doesn't really want to think about what they're watching. You know, when we talk about how Batman, the animated series, was really good because it respected the intelligence and maturity of its predominantly child-based audience? I think we can agree that the antithesis of this would be something like Cocomelon. Content that is guaranteed basically on a scientific level to engage its target audience with zero intent to develop its character.
Doesn't it kind of feel like there's more and more pressure to make Cocomelon for our own age bracket?
If they don't care about the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie, how are they going to watch your short film about depression long enough to pick up on any of the themes you've subtly woven in? A lot of people in general, but especially right now, don't want to be challenged by their media, which makes things really frustrating when the entire drive behind your artistry is that you want to challenge people. It literally feels like you have to deceive people into listening to you. Should you blur keys when you put them on the internet? It's not enough to say something thought-provoking or insightful. You have to say it the loudest and the funniest in the room. The best case scenario is that you actually cut through and reach the people you need to reach. The worst case scenario is that you end up looking like an insane person in an echo chamber on the internet for free. Which might not sound like a big deal, but it can actually affect things like your ability to get a job. I went to a job fair recently. Holy fuck, who is going to want me as a wellness instructor? They're going to Google me. It's already Jover. And it's not just the type of content I make content. It's art. It's not the kind of art I'm making. It's the perception that I seem to be doing it without a lot of payback. Which makes me look, at the very least, unfit to work at the YMCA. If you're looking for a manual on how to do this successfully, I want you to take a look at all the little numbers down there and get back to me on whether or not you think that I am gonna be the person to help you out with that. If you're still here, here's the best I can do. Try to focus more energy on your presence as a local artist. Ever had the feeling that you're making art for no one? Maybe try finding the people you want to make art for, or even better, with. And I know what you're gonna say. Abe, how do you make friends as an adult? If I knew that, I wouldn't even need this channel in the first place. The best advice I can give you is, spoiler alert, go out and do stuff. If you like independent films, low-budget films, go to local film screenings. If you like theater, go audition for a play. If you like punk music, go to a punk show. See if there are any performance art groups in your area and ask them if you can open for them. I don't know. At the very least, I would highly recommend that you find some time every now and then to work on your art in a public setting. Library, coffee shop, park. One of the only times I've ever filmed in public, I was at the park and this girl came up to me and asked me about what I was doing, and we ended up talking for 30 minutes. She subscribed to my channel and we talked about potentially working on something together. Now imagine if I always filmed at the park. It was one time I filmed at the park that happened. If you're a small-scale independent artist, you're probably trying to do the work of an entire creative team by yourself, and that is hell. You need some kind of support system. Not people to do things for you, but people who are willing to help when needed and when they're able. Whether it looks like appearing in a video, helping you shoot something, or even just knowing that you can rely on someone to watch your videos when you post. Over the summer, I asked a friend of mine to direct a music video for me, and it was an especially amazing experience because it was mutually beneficial. They got to expand their repertoire as a director, and I got to star in a music video without having to wear all the extra hats of writing and editing and directing, which gave me more time to focus on my next project. I consider myself very, very lucky to have those people in my life. Thanksgiving just came and went, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm very grateful. But hey, I could always use more. To further illustrate my point, there is a performance art group around where I live called Doomsday, and they make some of the strangest art you've ever seen in your life. But I and a lot of other people happen to enjoy and identify with it quite a bit. And I think a big part of that is because even if only one person shows up to their performances, that's still a group of people having fun at the end of the day, and people want in on that kind of energy. Try to manage your... I'm gonna take a shot in the dark here and guess that you probably have a lot of different projects and no idea how to start on any of them. Maybe you find yourself pacing around your room trying to figure out what to make because for some reason you can't seem to make any of the stuff you actually want to. Or maybe you have a bunch of unfinished projects, or maybe you have a bunch of long-term ideas but nothing to make in the meanwhile. Or maybe you're in full-on crisis mode about what kind of artist you even are. Listen.
I've traveled every road in this here land.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I've a lot and had my share, man. Reno, Chicago, London, Minnesota. Here's what I did. I got out a pen and paper, our old friends, and I wrote down every concrete, actionable concept I had. And then I wrote out a tentative release schedule. I wanted to aim for a new video every week. You can go at whatever pace you want. Do whatever's realistic for you. At the front of the schedule, I had my videos that were ready to go. And then after that, had my videos that were still in the process of either filming or editing. And then after that are the videos that were just concepts and still needed to be fleshed out. By the end of that brainstorming session, I had about a month's worth of content planned. And what this does is it helps you get a big picture view of your work. Now I get to see how much time I have to work on the new videos if I want to stay on track. And I have a better understanding of what to upload when. If I'm working on a short film, maybe I pad that out a little bit by dropping some teasers and trailers. Maybe. Which gets two birds stoned at once by, one, giving the audience slightly less whiplash when you jump from one project to the other, as if to say, hey guys, I'm heading over here, follow me if you want to. And two, it gives you more time to prepare for whatever's next. If you actually want this to be your career, you have to be regimented in some way. You have to be the teacher assigning homework and deadlines to yourself. Is it the most fun part of this work? No, but it doesn't have to suck. Me personally, I hate sitting down and writing lists and schedules and planning, and I was making excuses to not do it. I was like, oh, do I have the right notebook? What about the format? What if I run out of paper, this and that? And I realized, oh my God, this is in and of itself an art experiment that I am neglecting because I am scared of the question it is asking me. Can I do this? And wouldn't you know it, just like all my other art experiments, it turned out basically the only thing to do was to start. So I grabbed a notebook and a pen and just began the experiment of writing things down and seeing where they fit. And as of right now, I have something that works for me in this moment. As I continue to evolve, it will evolve alongside me. In 5 years, it might look completely different, and I'll be able to go back and look at how much I've grown, how I used to format it. If you treat it like an art project, it can be beautiful and fun. Sorry if that's corny. And I don't have things fully worked out yet, but I definitely noticed a big change in my stress level, right up until the point that I got off my schedule.
Just try to be a little more strategic, okay?
This is something that actually helped me a lot. Try to find some time, even if it means taking a break from uploading, to make a bunch of stuff that you can upload later. This is how the pros do it. If you're trying to upload, let's say, once a week, if you've got 4 videos just ready to go at the drop of a hat, that is about a month's worth of time you get to just work on the next batch. Always being one step ahead of yourself can get you into this really good groove of not feeling as worried when you have a day where you didn't get as much done as you wanted to, because you know that you've saved yourself time by creating a sort of back catalog of content. It's art. Don't be so averse. Give me your hand. Don't be so averse to labeling yourself. I know. You want the mystique. You want to be the enigma. You don't want to be singer-songwriter Stephanie Germanotta. You want to be Lady Gaga and have everyone already know what that means. Guess what? No one knows who you are or what you do. Call yourself an art pop singer-songwriter. Look, I want to be just as effervescent as the next guy, but in the day and age of hashtags, adjectives and buzzwords are your friends. And maybe that's something you struggle with. Maybe describing yourself as an artist. Maybe you're not even sure what kind of art you make. Maybe you're terrified of carving out a box for yourself that you end up not fitting into. We've all been there. We're artists. Anything that looks remotely like a box immediately triggers our fight or flight. And of course, there are no easy solutions. That should be the blanket statement for this whole video. These are not, I'm not running a super successful YouTube channel here. Grain of salt. Rock of salt. But here's what I did. I tried in a very objective way to take a look at my body of work and try to imagine how it comes across to others. What words come to mind? Words that came to mind were scrappy, grungy, DIY, left field. And when I tried to examine what the most common themes throughout all of my art were, I found emotional vulnerability, political anger, humor, gender experimentation, and all of this led me to the realization that by being true to myself and creating just the art that I wanted to make, I had actually carved out a pretty solid niche for myself. Punk. Punk rock. It aligns with the type of art I make and see myself continuing to make. It aligns with the type of audience I want, and it's a subculture that I actually have history with. As much as we viscerally hate labeling ourselves, I'm not gonna lie, it makes things a lot easier when people ask you what you do. Instead of having to say, I'm Abe and I make YouTube videos, I can say, I'm Abe. I'm a punk DIY creator. Doesn't that just sound better? Am I a lot more than just a punk? Sure. Lady Gaga is a lot more than just a pop singer. We all contain multitudes, buddy. We gotta keep things moving. Be the audience that you want to have. Remember that art is a conversation, and you should be listening just as much as you're speaking. You can't be mad that no one watches underground experimental films if you yourself are not watching underground experimental films. It's being the change you want to see in the world. You know what I'm saying? It is such a goddamn blessing to have small-scale artists that you feel really passionately about, because that tells you that if you feel that way about someone's art, someone out there is gonna feel that way about your art. What I'd recommend is find some current, low-budget, low view count, okay? If popularity bias is something you struggle with, sorry, this might not even be the scene for you. Like, that's just 101 territory. Find these films. It doesn't have to be film. It can be music or painting, but I'm using film as the example here. Stay on the plot. I lost it. Go through every person involved with it and see what else they've done. I'm literally giving you permission to go down a letterboxd rabbit hole. I cannot even begin to tell you how much amazing, influential to me art I have found just by going down one of these deep dives with some random student experimental film from someone I've never even met before, and just going like, okay, this actress is also a director and she's made these films which feature these actors who have worked on these films, and so on and so on, until you're fully tapped in to like an art collective movement out in Lansing, Michigan, which also ties into what I was saying about the group dynamic thing. The more people you're artistically connected to, the more discoverable you are. Being intentional about absorbing and engaging with your peers' art will make you a better member of your art community, because sometimes the hottest person in the grocery store is the person who's complimenting everyone else. You feel me? And it will make you a better artist in general. I've gotten so much influence from these small creators here on YouTube. Also, it's just good for art block. If I'm ever feeling uninspired, it's because I haven't inspired myself, haven't reminded myself what people like me are capable of. Oh, cool motorcycle, dude! Wonder where he's going. And the last piece of advice I want to give you is that the absolute worst thing you can do is stop. Take comfort in the fact that no mistake you're ever gonna make is gonna be as bad as giving up. As I said before, it's a balancing act of all these different things: accessibility, humor, authenticity, etc. Guess what? You're probably going to make something that goes too far in this direction or too far in that direction. This video is funny but feels inauthentic, or this video is completely authentic but completely alienating and inaccessible. This or that. Everything you make is getting you closer to the tightrope. Don't quit when you're all the way over here. Get back on the rope and find your balance. Sometimes in order to figure out what kind of artist you are, you have to figure out what kind of artist you aren't. I discovered that I'm not cut out to make weekly film reviews. My thought process was, I think about movies a lot, so logically that would be probably the best way to
Profit off of my mind.
But what actually happened was that I hated doing it, and I made a bunch of videos that I ultimately had no desire to ever rewatch. Hot take, if you don't want to watch your own videos, what are you doing? So I took those videos down, which I later found out is actually one of the absolute worst things you can do for your channel's discoverability. But the point is that I changed my approach. And change is good. It's okay to change. It's okay to contradict yourself even. Just don't give up, because the world truly needs your art. And I know you've probably heard that before, but I am saying that as an active member of and participant of the world. Some of my favorite directors currently working are YouTubers who get less than 1,000 views when they post a film. Some of them less than 100. I would be devastated if any one of them stopped making the art that they make. I guarantee you there is at least one person out there who feels that way about the art that you make. Don't give up. And like I said, change is a good and necessary thing. Just try to avoid changing yourself in the interest of making yourself more palatable. How you grow as an artist should be on your terms. Yes, your work is weird and probably unpopular. And yes, it's hard to be who you are. But it's even harder to be someone you aren't. Work smarter, not harder. Yes, you'll have to find compromises, but your vision should not have to be one of them. Don't see your artistic instincts as the problem. Maybe your business instincts are the problem. Maybe you're marketing yourself ineffectively. Maybe you're trying to connect with the wrong audience. But your art is not what's wrong. Your art makes my life better. Your art can and will challenge and even change people. You have a set of eyes that no one else has, had, or ever will have. Only you have lived the exact life that compels you to make the exact art that you make. And I am personally begging you to make it.
Well, what does that word really mean? worth?
That's a great observation, Mr. Peterson.
And why should it matter which section of the store I buy my underwear from? The ladies section or the men's section?
Preaching to the choir, Mr. Peterson.
You know, the Rat King doesn't put
Do not
any thought
start
into
about
which
the
side
Rat
of the
King.
store.
Yes, it's worth it. You know how I know? Because making art is fun and feels good, and I'd like to continue doing it. And yes, it's discouraging when no one seems to care, as is often the case when you're making weird, left field, low budget, experimental stuff. But if your top goal is simply to create, guess what? You can do that. If your top goal is fame, you can't just make yourself famous. As much as the internet makes it seem like it's constantly just right around the corner, which makes you feel like you're doing something really wrong, right? And it's not wrong to want an audience. That's an important distinction between wanting fame and wanting an audience. We all want to be told that we're funny and pretty and that our camera techniques are very innovative. But if that's your top priority, you're gonna end up probably not making a lot of art, or at the very least making art that you end up not liking that much. I like my art. If no one else is enjoying my stuff, I'm enjoying my stuff. I have the ability to imagine something I wish was real and make it real. Not a machine. I can do that. For me, that's worth it. I can't really tell you if it'll be worth it for you because I don't know what you value the most. But if the simple act of creation is enough for you, baby, you already know what the answer is. The hard truth about being an oddball artist is that you have to sit with the very real possibility that you might work and work and work for the entire rest of your life and never really get that wider audience you're looking for. It's already difficult enough these days trying to be successful, making conventional art. And you are making art that actively tries to subvert and reject convention. That's kind of like bringing a knife to a gunfight, except it's more like bringing a knife to a beauty pageant. You're still not gonna win, and now everyone thinks you're really weird. Yes, there are certain ways you can and should be more strategic. And yes, hard work pays off. And yes, some people do just get straight up lucky. But like I said, most of that is out of your control. If you don't enjoy the parts you can control, this might not be for you. You might be asking yourself, how do I know? How do I know if this is what I'm supposed to do? Oh, don't worry. You'll know. I know you'll know. Because you won't be able to stop yourself.
You just watched a video about Lansing weather watch, but the weather for Virginia, it's a low of about 20 and it's a high of about 35. December 15th, 2025. Thank you for watching. I am the weather watcher in Lansing. Stay there, my watchers, and don't forget to, cheers! That's it.